The story of Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns by DC Wrestling.
Sunday night, April 3rd, 2022. The most stupendous two-night event in Wrestlemania history will close out with a winner-takes-all title unification match between WWE Champion, the Beast Incarnate Brock Lesnar, and the WWE Universal Champion, the head of the table, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. With these two men being no stranger to one another, and this match quite possibly and hopefully being the last time these two face off, it's only right that we have a look back at the many times Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar has collided one-on-one. This is the story of Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Hope you enjoy. Remember to like, comment, and also subscribe to the channel as well.
Part 1, Wrestlemania 31.
The January 26, 2015 episode of Monday Night Raw was held from the WWE headquarters due to a travel ban brought on by the Winter Storm warning later on that night. But also in the main segment that night, we saw Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, who won the 2015 Royal Rumble 24 hours ago, meeting face-to-face for the very first time. Paul Heyman, who orchestrated this whole face-off, begins to praise Roman Reigns and recounts his family's history. Heyman also asks Reigns, how are you going to handle disappointing your family when you lose to Brock Lesnar because you can't beat Brock Lesnar? Not today, and certainly not at WrestleMania. Reigns begins to respond to Heyman while looking at Brock saying, I'm going to beat you at WrestleMania. And if I can't, I'm taking a piece of you with me. And I believe that. And so should you. Brock snaps to his feet as the both men shake hands, and Brock saying, unlike him, I don't respect you, where Reigns responds back and says, but you will. Man, I don't know about you guys, but this right here, such a highly underrated segment, man. A really great start to what turns out to be a really good, somewhat pretty good build-up for WrestleMania 31. But as we see, man, Roman Reigns over the next few weeks, over the next few months, goes into this stage where he says, I can and I will beat Brock Lesnar, while Paul Heyman's like, you can't beat Brock Lesnar and you won't beat Brock Lesnar. This all leads to Sunday, March 29th at Levi's Stadium. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Right out the gate, Reigns charges Lesnar only to get caught with a suplex and an F5, only for Reigns to kick out at 2. You could already tell, man, like right away, like this battle was going to be good, man. When you saw Brock at the little blood on his cheek, like you already knew, like this was going to be good. One of the times Lesnar suplexes Reigns, you can actually hear him saying, Suplex City. Reigns tries to fight, only for Lesnar to respond back. On the outside, Reigns would force Lesnar into the ring post, busting him open. And after a few Superman punches, Lesnar would hit Reigns with one last F5, and I think everybody knows how this all ends next. Many people left WrestleMania shocked with the new WWE Champion, while not knowing that this would not be the last time that Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar would stand toe-to-toe.
Part 2, WrestleMania 34.
April 8th, 2018, WrestleMania 34. Nearly 3 years later from their first encounter, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns would square up once again, this time for the Universal Championship. Weeks leading up to WrestleMania, coming off his win in the Elimination Chamber match to get this opportunity against Lesnar, Reigns would lay into the entitled Lesnar, calling him out for being a part-timer and not showing up every single week with the belt. Once the match started, Lesnar would hit 3 German suplexes to Reigns, who would clap back with 3 Superman punches and 2 spears, only for Lesnar to kick out. Later on in the match, Lesnar would hit a F5 for Reigns to kick out. Lesnar then begins to hammer Reigns with elbow strikes, causing Reigns to be bled, busted open. Like Reigns was freaking bleeding, man. Like blood all over him, crimson mask, all that crazy stuff. Now Reigns would power out and hit a spear, looking to hit another one, only to get caught with a 6 F5. 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar wins and continue his reign as champion. And as obviously you can see, man, fans in the audience, they hated this match. As a matter of fact, not just fans, everybody around the world hated this match. There were chants like, this is awesome, boring, CM Punk, etc. Wrestling personnel and fans have claimed that this match to be one of the worst WrestleMania main event matches of all time.
Part 3, Greatest Royal Rumble.
So we see on the Raw after WrestleMania, it was announced that Brock would defend his Universal title against Reigns April 27th at the Greatest Royal Rumble event in a steel cage match. Now Reigns was coming out of promo that night stating that he wasn't even notified about the rematch and even said that there was a conspiracy against him. This all leads to the go-home show before the pay-per-view where Paul Heyman says that Reigns is stepping in the cage with the greatest cage fighter of the Broctagon, Brock Lesnar. Now, Reigns comes out and says that I don't know how I'm coming home, but all I know is I'm coming home with that title, and you can believe that. Now, the match of the Greatest Royal Rumble event will begin with 3 spears, and of course for Lesnar to kick out at 2. Now, we do see later on in the match, man, Reigns does try to escape through the door, but Heyman comes in, pushes the door onto Reigns, and of course this would allow Lesnar to hit another F5, and of course Roman kicks out. But of course it was the ending of the match. They got a lot of people weirdly looking at this because it was the ending of the match that saw Reigns hit a spear through the cage wall onto Lesnar, and after watching the instant replay, the ref came to the decision of giving the win and giving the title back to Brock, thus retaining his championship.
Part 5, SummerSlam 2018.
On the July 16th episode of Monday Night Raw, Reigns would win the triple threat match between himself, Drew McIntyre, and Finn Balor. This would lead to a match against next week on July 23rd against Bobby Lashley. With this win, the main event of SummerSlam was set. Brock versus Roman 3 for the Universal title. Reigns said he had to beat Brock Lesnar to stop him from disrespecting his family and the business. August 19, 2018, SummerSlam, Brock and Roman would come out to the ring. But of course, we then saw, before the match began, Braun Strowman, Mr. Money in the Bank, would come out and state that whoever wins this match, he would cash in on them. Once the bell rang, Reigns hits Lesnar with not 1, not 2, but 3 Superman punches. Not 1, not 2, but 3 spears as well. But of course, we saw towards the end of the match, Reigns was going for another spear, only for Lesnar to move out the way, and Roman accidentally performing somewhat of a suicide dive onto Strowman. Lesnar then hits an F5 onto Strowman, hits him, and throws the briefcase onto the stage. And then, of course, after Lesnar pounding and hitting Strowman with chair shots, Reigns would hit another spear onto Lesnar to win the Universal title, ending at the time the longest reigning title reign of the Universal title for Brock Lesnar, which was at 504 days.
Part 6, Crown Jewel 2021.
SummerSlam 2021. Coming off of retaining his Universal title against John Cena, Roman Reigns was at this point under the prime of his career with the Tribal Chief, the head of the table gimmick, and being paired with his adversary's manager Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns lifts the Universal title standing over Cena, while the music of the Beast Incarnate fills Allegiant Stadium as Brock Lesnar made his return to WWE. Brock Lesnar would come face-to-face with Roman, only for Roman to, of course, leave. Now, on the September 10th episode of Friday Night SmackDown, Brock Lesnar confronted Roman, and he even asked Paul Heyman why didn't he tell Roman that he was going to be at SummerSlam. Lesnar then challenges Reigns to a match at Crown Jewel on October 21, with the match officially being announced that next week. Now, the big story heading into this match was, of course, Paul Heyman, and whose side was he on? That being Brock or Roman. At Crown Jewel, Lesnar tries to suplex Roman early, but Reigns holds on to the ropes. Reigns even pulls off this big dive onto Lesnar on the outside, which was, not going to lie, was pretty cool to see. Now, back in the ring, Lesnar hits an F5 too close to the referee, which causes him to fall down. Heyman then throws the Universal title in the middle of the ring as both men begin a tug-of-war over the title. Once Lesnar has the Universal title in his hands, the Usos come out and double super kick Lesnar while Reigns hits him with the title, pinning him and retaining his championship.
Part 7, WrestleMania 38.
So we see on the SmackDown after Crown Jewel, Brock Lesnar would appear to beat Roman Reigns senseless, tearing apart everyone and just beating and destroying everyone that just got in his way, including WWE official Adam Pearce, who suspended Lesnar indefinitely. Once Lesnar's suspension was lifted, Brock Lesnar came back for a rematch for day 1 that was scheduled for the 2, but of course due to Roman testing positive, Brock was added to the Fatal 4-Way match, making it a Fatal 5-Way match to become the WWE Champion. At the Royal Rumble, Brock would lose the title to Bobby Lashley due to the interference from Roman Reigns, who would also realign himself with the special counsel, Paul Heyman. Brock would go on to win the Royal Rumble, and then he would go on to win the not the Universal, but the WWE Championship at the Chamber. And so here we are. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. Two men that will do battle for the seventh and possible last time at WrestleMania. One man showing the world that he was always the better man, while the other wants to prove that this is his WWE. No matter the outcome, no matter the result. 55K in AT&T Stadium and millions around the world will watch one man standing tall is not just the god of WWE, but most importantly, the god of sports entertainment.